Gleno!
Hey Roothy, how are you, mate?
How you going, mate?
Good to see you. Ready to lose?
Well, I thought you were going to get a four-wheel drive. What's this?
The JACKEROO, the Jack.
I think we'll just call it Jill right now. And it's
Sticks
pink.
and stones, mate.
Oh, mate, you should have got one with an engine. What's that? Well, that's the motor, is it?
It's a computer controlled motor, mate. EFI.
Oh, EFI.
We're going with the times here.
That's like carburetor, but with a little guy in there that squirts the fuel out
Sort
or
of.
something. Yeah,
Sort
oh, that'll never work.
Only
mate.
better.
Only better? Ooh, gee, I'm glad it's yours. Look, I have never seen a vehicle with more air filtration than it's got engine. That's ridiculous. And the radiator looks like it came out of a lawnmower. It's got no front suspension and it's pink. What a girly truck. Glenn, give up.
Mate,
now.
if I didn't know I was going to win, I'd be cut up by those comments. But I know the story.
Look at this.
Look at this thing. This is a lot like you, John. Grey. Getting grey all over. It's old.
Not about the all over.
It's old. And it's big and heavy. We can't open the bonnet.
Big and heavy. Yeah, yeah. But you know why? Because it's solid, reliable. It's going to make the finish line. And you know what? It's a real four-wheel drive. It's got, like, you know, springs and things. Not like that.
Those creaky, rusty things under the holding the wheels up.
Look at this. Holy carburetor, extractors. I mean, it's a performance engine, this one.
We're going near the coast, John. This boat anchor will be fine for some of those big ocean liners out there.
I don't believe it. I mean, you know, I reckon I got 2 or 3 times the truck here for my $2,000. And to be honest...
Oh, sorry, how did you paid for this?
Yeah.
Where did you get it?
I bought it off the side of the road. It took me 2 or 3 hours, just cruising around, you know, out of Brisbane. And I found this thing sitting on the side of the road, $2,000. I actually paid $1,800 for it.
They saw you coming, mate.
Oh,
Guess how much I bought for this? I'm a young guy, right? I'm a pretty young guy, keep with the times. I bought this on eBay, jumped on the net, 5 minutes in between a few meetings. Guess how much I paid for that?
I don't know. Oh, look, I'll go tops $1,500, mate.
$700, mate. I could have bought 2 of those red weapons for this thing right here.
$700?
Absolutely. Okay, here we go. An email from Roothy about his four-wheel drive for the Bushmechanic Challenge. And there's a video attached. This could be very interesting.
Gleno, you know this Bushmechanic Challenge thing? Mate, one-upmanship. Look at this. Now, I heard what you've got, but look what I've got. I got a real truck, a big truck with big bars on the front and a huge winch to pull me out of trouble. Not that I'll be in any trouble, not with this. It's a Toyota, not like your little thing. I'll be straight over the top of it. It'll be like a speed bump in the car park, mate. Look at this for quality engineering, eh? Doors that used to open, but just don't open at the moment. And it's got racks for my surfboard. It came with doors that don't open, but it's got spare parts inside as well. That's pretty good. 4 wheels, really quite good on a 4-wheel drive, 4 wheels. And check this out for luxury, mate. We're talking real comfort here. Bench seat with headrests and quite a few things living in it too. It's a very organic truck, but it's beautiful. Talk about condition. Only a lousy couple of 100,000 Ks on it too. And check out the power plant. This thing, mate, this thing is a little truck eater. Look at this. Absolute magic. The mighty 2F petrol engine, which just between you and me is a cheap copy of a Chevrolet, but it's a very, very good motor. Lots of capacity, lots of power. You know that little truck you've lined up? I've heard all about it, mate. This thing's going to go straight over the top of it. And that's if I pull 4 of the plug leads off. Ha ha! Looking forward to it, mate. See you soon.
Yeah, good on you, John. That's great work, mate. Okay, 55, so what? What Roothy doesn't know is that I didn't really buy the Pajero I've been spreading rumours about. I haven't really had time to look for anything yet for this Bushmechanic Challenge, but I think I'd probably be a little bit more up to speed with the web than Roothy. I'm hoping so. I'll bet my 80 series that I can find a decent short wheelbase 4-wheel drive for less than $2,000 that's going to wipe the floor with that grey thing of his, without even leaving this desk in this office. Okay. www.ebay.com.au. Yep. Go. eBay Motors. Righto. Used cars. Make. I'm going to go for something different because it's not going to take anything much to beat that 50. Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, Holden. Model. Gemini, Kingswood, Jackeroo. Year, doesn't matter. Price, yeah. £2 spend. Body, whatever. Go. Beauty. 13 to choose from. Okay, go fast red. That's it. That's a bit of us. Look out, Roothy. Aha! This could be the one. 91 Jackeroo Shorty. Independent front suspension. Yep, that's what we're after. Not like Roothy's old grey thing. EFI, 5-speed gearbox, and tons of rego. $700 buy it now. Gosh. That's a bit of me. That's ours. Sold for $700. That was too easy. For $700 in less than 5 minutes, I have just bought this absolute weapon of a red Jackeroo that's going to just wipe the floor with that grey thing of Roothy's. Now all I need is $700 and a lift to go and get it, and go the Jackeroo!
Look, mate, spare parts. I think this is a radiator for your Jackeroo. And plenty of room. I can sleep in this. There's buckets of room.
You're going to need to, mate. When this thing's breaking down on the side of the road, you'll need all the sleep you can get in the back of this.
Do us a favour, mate. I'll probably fit the Jackeroo in there. Hey, Gordon.
Hey, fellas. Okay,
hey, mate.
come on, let's get these cars up in the hoist and we'll see what we can do with them, see if we can get you there and back.
All right,
He's
mate.
confident. Good on you, mate.
Whilst Glen and Roothy know a thing or three about four-wheel drives, resident guru Gordon takes a good look at everything underneath. While both the FJ55 and the Jackeroo drive well and don't seem to have any major issues, they've each covered several 100,000 kilometres, give or take a few, and could do with a little tweak here and there. The rules for this competition are simple. The truck must cost less than $2,000. Glen and Roothy need to stick to the road rules and the set course. It's a matter of getting to the finishing line first. To make the competition a little more exciting, we've allowed both drivers to choose any set of tyres, and we're fitting both trucks with new Storn alloy wheels and internal beadlocks.
I make no bones about this. I'm here to win this race, and I have chosen the Mickey Thompson Baja MTZ because they're made with the latest in tyre technology. The big voids in the tread here give it fantastic self-cleaning properties in the mud and slop, and the latest technology incorporated into this makes them very, very good on-road, on the gravel and in the sand. I am a sure thing with these tyres.
Now, look, I know it's true. I could stick the wheels off the handbrake's pram on this Toyota and it would still beat that Jackeroo. That's not a drama at all. But seeing as we're allowed to choose some tyres, and seeing as four-wheel driving, after all, is all about traction, I've gone for maximum traction and strength. This is what I've got. Look at this, claws, Mickey Thompson Baja radial claws. You don't get any chunkier traction than these things. They're big, tough, solid tyres. They work really well off-road. I'm not that bothered about the finesse, you know, on the little curly bits down the tar, all that sort of stuff. All I'm interested in is maximum traction off-road, a big tough tyre, and that's what I got. Look at the blocks on this. Wow, with this and the Toyota, I'll be taking it easy. It'll be that easy, it won't be funny.
So, with all the tyres fitted with Storn internal beadlocks and on new alloy rims, Glen takes the easy option by using the rattle gun, while Roothy, well, he's just happy to do it the old-fashioned way. With the vehicles ready, Glen and Roothy are ready to make tracks.
Just one sec, before we get started, this is the serious part of this. The race is about to begin, and you've heard Roothy talk it up about how the Land Cruiser's going to win and beat the poor little Jackeroo, but really he has got no idea. This Jackeroo is a great little vehicle, and I think it's going to shock him. I cannot wait to see the look on Roothy's face when the Jackeroo finishes first.
Come on, Gleno! Let's get on with it! Come on!
Okay. See you at the finish line, mate. Roothy, you're going to have to do better than that, mate, to stop the Jackeroo.
Mate, I'm just trying to save you a bit of embarrassment, that's all.
So that's the way it's going to be, huh?
Oh, poor old Gleno, he takes it so seriously, you know, this competition. But if you were going to take it seriously, you'd have got a real four-wheel drive to start with, wouldn't you? You know, like this Toyota. Good, solid, live axle truck, reliable, strong. Not that little girly box he's got, the JACKEROO. Oh, well, I'll just take it easy. This won't be hard at all.
This Jackeroo is a great little four-wheel drive. It stops well, goes all right. There are going to be a few surprises in store for Roothy throughout this challenge.
While the big heavy 55 doesn't seem to be suffering much on the well-worn entry tracks, he's certainly got his work cut out for him once he reaches the big dunes. In the meantime, Glen hits the blacktop on the way to the rough stuff.
Okay, Roothy and the old Land Cruiser are playing in the sand pit. And the Jackeroo and I, we're on the bitumen, heading for the tough stuff that we're going to be playing in the mud, rocks, ruts, climbs, some serious off-road fun. This is where the Jackeroo has it all over the 55. We're sitting here on 110, the speed limit on the freeway, and Roothy will be lucky to get over, I reckon, probably 55. So we'll make up bucket loads of time here. This is going to be a real win for the Jackeroo.
As a seasoned sand driver, Roothy knows that the best way over soft sand is to stick to the beaten track. Meanwhile, Glen's covering the big miles on the highway before his off-road driving will slow him down. Forget what we said before though, because we wanted to make sure that neither competitor was able to take the easy route. With Roothy treading carefully over the sand dunes, it was only a matter of time before he'd hit something that might take a little bit of know-how to combat.
Stockton, eh? It's always full of surprises. I thought this would be very easy to get over this hill, but now I'm well and truly bogged. But that's okay, because we've got the bead locks fitted here, and of course, with the Storm bead locks, the whole thing is I can let my tyres right down now. Well, there we go. A whole turn, I knocked 6 pounds off, I'm down to 12. I'm going to give it a try at 12, that should pull it out of here, and then I should be able to get out of here with a bit of luck. But the whole point about having the bead lockers is that you can go a lot lower. So if this doesn't work at 12, I'll try it at 9, and if 9 doesn't work, I'll try it at 6. And you're probably thinking, well, what difference does 3 PSI make? But at that bottom range, you've got to think about it in terms of 12 PSI as opposed to 6 PSI is half the inflation of the tyre. So it's like going from 30 to 15, isn't it? It's not a difference of 6 PSI, it's a difference of half the pressure inside that tyre. And that's why it gets really critical at the low pressures. Now I can drop it to almost nothing on the Storms and walk out of here, but it's early in the trip, I don't want to do anything, so I'll just take it easy and we'll see how we go on 12, all right? Let's give it a go.
I don't know whether this oil gauge just isn't working or whether we just don't have any oil pressure in the engine, but either way, there's no loud noises coming from the front, so we'll just keep pressing on. We've got to beat Roothy.
Ah, it's tough, this four-wheel drive competition stuff, isn't it? Wonder if there's any second-hand Toyota bits in this.
With Roothy enjoying the sun and the sand, Glen quickly gets bitumen out of the way and hits the gravel roads. So far, Glen's $700 investment is going great guns, and his IFS truck is making these gravel roads look simple. Back at the beach, Roothy hits a marker, then encounters enough sea foam to smother the old 55. This isn't a big problem though, as the wipers work perfectly. The only thing is, I don't think these old cruisers were designed for that.
I could smell a bit of carbon monoxide, like an exhausty smell inside the cabin, and that's not a good thing. You can also hear the slight rattle in the engine when you rev it. Sounds a little bit like a Volkswagen Beetle, which is coming from the exhaust manifold gasket. I've noticed it was a little bit puffy the other day, but it's got a little bit worse over the corrugations and the bumps off-road here. So it's a little bit hot now to do anything about it, but I'll keep my eye on that and I'll give it a tighten up first thing in the morning. It's most important that you vent the cabin to get rid of any carbon monoxide, because that can make you fall asleep at the wheel. It's just not good for you. So this is great. I can open the windows, quarter vents, and get a lot of air through this cabin and basically keep it well ventilated so I don't nod off on the job. Still got to beat Roothy, remember?
Good move, Glen. It wouldn't be much of a race if we lost you already, would it? And speaking of losses, Roothy's electronics seem to have taken a holiday.
Such a windy day, and what with the high tide and all the floods they've been having around here lately, there's foams all over the place. I had nowhere else to go. I went through it. It's doing all right there for a while, but she's running on a couple of cylinders now, so we better have a look. Oh, it's not nice this stuff. Oh, look at that. Oh, look, yeah, that'll be the issue for sure. But look at all this foam all over the high tension leads. The thing about high tension leads, especially old ones, is that it doesn't take an awful lot to put them out of order, because they're pumping about 40 or 50,000 volts. Well, you know, what I really need to do here is to blow all that foam off. And I've got the opposite lock pump there. I don't actually have any sort of an air gun. But what you need for blowing is a whole lot of volume in one hit. So I'm going to use the pump pipe backwards here and actually put it on the tyre. Put the valve stem onto the tyre like that. Now I can tell straight away it's giving me a bit of pressure. So I've got this spare fitting out of the toolbox. I'll fit that in there. That'll just trigger it, and there we go. You can blow some of this foam off. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at the distributor cap, it's all loose. Wouldn't mind betting it's copped a load of foam underneath the cap too. Wow, look at that. All right, I'll get most of this stuff off. Oh, okay. Well, there's no foam in there as such. There's not a lot of electrode left either, is there? And see, contact's been arcing out around the top here too. So I'll probably get twice the horsepower once I've sorted this out. Couldn't get much less. Well, that's looking all right. It's about as good as a bad old distributor can get, I guess. I'll give it a bit of a spray and we'll see if she goes. Now, if a bloke had a JACKEROO, he probably would have done this before he'd run through the water. But this is a Toyota, I just didn't expect it to stop. There we go. Well, that's my last breakdown for this entire trip. Now all you've got to do now, because we've used the air out of the tyre, is put the pump on, re-inflate the tyre, reverse the whole process. Dead easy.
After a couple of simple water crossings, Glen gets to what appears to be a four-wheel drive only route. Not wanting to lose a second, a necessary precaution is taken.
This looks interesting. While the JACKEROO is going to get across here without any problems in the world, we better take a few precautions just to make sure. I'm going to put a tarp, water blind kind of thing across the front to give the electrics a spray, because there's a lot of computerised sensors and stuff under this engine bay. Deflate the tyres. I'll put them down to 15 psi with the Storns. What do you mean it doesn't look as ugly?
I wonder how Gleno's race is going.
As Glen hits the mud, it doesn't look like Roothy's in a hurry. Yet, with enough grip to get over and around anything, the JACKEROO turns from a high-speed highway weapon into a serious off-road machine.
Roothy's not getting it that easy.
Nice work, Glen. Roothy had his fun before. Now we can call it all square.
Go the JACKEROO!
Back at the beach, Roothy finds his way onto some well-beaten tracks. He's covering good ground now, and it looks like it won't be long before he's off the sand and heading towards the finish of the first leg. It's here where he'll find out just who has the upper hand, ready to take on the opposite terrain in part 2. On the dirt, Glen knows he's about to take a legal shortcut that could either make or break his race.
That is pretty tough down there. I think even the JACKEROO's going to have trouble with that because there's a really, really steep drop down into a very, very rocky, boulder-clad river with a climb back up the other side through some pretty wild bush. So first thing I'm going to do to make sure I get down there and beat Roothy is I'm going to deflate these tyres down pretty much as low as I can go with these Storns, and because the internal bead locks, I'm going to be able to go, I reckon this time about 6 psi because the JACKEROO doesn't weigh much. That'll give me plenty of traction.
And he's into it. This is a one-way track and there's no turning back. He'll have to rely on his driving skill, but more so, even the ability of the low pressure in the tyres, also having faith in the JACKEROO that it'll make it through in one piece. Here goes nothing.
Power could go tremendously.
Fighting his way over slippery rocks, broken trees and natural obstacles, he makes it to the bank ready to exit. Yet Glen's hung up on his chassis rails and just needs to do a little bit of landscaping in order to make it out.
Our power could grow tremendously. Our power could grow tremendously.
This shortcut could have saved him a stack of time. Yet if he can't get this right, he could also be finding out the hard way that shortcuts aren't always the best option.
Our power could grow tremendously.
And he's done it. It did take a lot longer than he'd hoped, but luckily he wasn't marooned there for good and is now ready to make his break for the finish line. As Roothy leaves the sand, Glen can't believe his luck. That punishing drive must have killed the JACKEROO.
Roothy's put a curse on the JACKEROO. Okay, this is simple. It's EFI, but only 3 things can stop an engine: spark, compression, or fuel. Just grab a few things and we'll check. I'm 90% sure it's fuel because the way it stopped, it just kept running. It wasn't a spark problem. It was a fuel starvation problem, I think. I'll just check spark just to make sure so I don't waste any time. I'm checking the wrong thing. Ready? We got spark. So it's not a spark problem. It's going to be fuel because the compression's not an issue by the way it's turning over. It's not turning over like you think it was a lack of compression, not turning over too fast. So it's got to be fuel. Let's have a think. Okay, I'll just quickly check the injector's firing. Okay, that's good news. It's not a computer problem because the computer is telling the fuel injectors to fire. Something to do with the fuel pump. Okay, fuse box. These blade fuses are, I know what they call them, auto electrician's best friends. They're so easy to test that they're working. So we go to the fuel pump. The fuel pump fuse is fine, so it's not the fuse. While I'm here, quick check the relay. You can't really tell if there's anything wrong with it, but beautiful. This one here, this relay runs the air conditioner, and I don't really need the air conditioner because it doesn't work anyway, so chuck the relay from the air conditioner in the fuel pump spot and we'll see what happens.
Better get a move on, Glen. Roothy must be getting close now.
Whoa! 75 kilometres an hour. I can punch this all the way to 90, you know, maybe even 100. Yeah, I know. Gleno's got the faster car, but this one's reliable. It's tough, it's solid. Certainly not a speedster.
You're right there, Roothy. Maybe you should have found one with a 5-speed. Glen might just have your number there. He's a whiz on those dirt roads.
Here's the bridge. This is it. I can see the garage. Glen's not there. It's no Jackeroo. Done it. I knew I could take it easy and win this. Dead easy. Toyota magic, mate. Too good. Here we go. I knew I'd do it. I knew it. It's so easy, you know. Got a Toyota, do anything. Ah, you beauty.
Hey, John! You made it. I thought you must have got lost or something, mate.
How'd you get here?
I don't know, we just...
What, you cheat or something?
No, I don't know, we didn't have to, mate, in the Jackeroo.
I don't
Take a
believe
look
it.
at it.
I don't believe it.
I've nearly got it washed. I was just getting a bit of a wash and a polish.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't believe this. Fair dinkum. I'll tell you what, I'm going to try a lot harder in the second half, mate.
I'll
get you. Oh, boy, so much for bludging.
Oh, God.
Starting part 2 at the finishing point of part 1, Glen will again have to start his race on the tarmac before getting onto the sand. Tackling all of the sand tracks and turns that Roothy did in the FJ55, he'll need to make sure that the Jackeroo doesn't offload its suspension through the big bumps in order for him to make it to the finish line first. Roothy's leg this time will be tackling the same creek crossings, hills, mud and obstacles that the Jackeroo made it through. Yet the big test will be whether the FJ55 can make it through the legal shortcut. If he can do this, it'll mean he'll be able to get the big and slow Toyota on the freeway earlier, and will hopefully see him reaching the finishing line well before Glen. Still covering the same distance and tackling any mechanical issues that pop up, it'll be a close race, and only time will tell who can make it there first.
Gleno!
Mighty Jackeroo might be in with a chance after all.
Oh, I don't know about that. I thought I might take it a bit seriously, this little second
I think you'll need to, mate. Tell you what, I had a good day yesterday. These tyres got me through some really tough patches, and I was running super low pressure. I think that's the secret. I don't want to give too much more away, so I want to have trouble too.
No.
The tyres on those really low pressures, mate. 6 PSI I had to get them down to at some point.
6 PSI?
Yeah.
Fair dinkum.
Did the trick though.
Mind you, I suppose you only need about 10 PSI to hold that little thing up, don't you? You don't need a lot of it. Is it going all right?
It's got a little exhaust leak, but otherwise I just dented a sill a little bit and caught a bit of the rear bumper and tore a piece off. But otherwise, it looks like new.
Oh, it can't have been that hard. I mean, you can do that sort of damage in the Kmart car park, mate.
You'll find out today, mate. Speaking of damage, this bumper I'm leaning on here, that wasn't like this when I saw it last.
No, it wasn't. But actually, that's a funny one, you know, because it didn't even happen on the course.
Oh, right.
It was in the, there was a bit of an issue with the bollard, you know. I don't know what it was that distracted me. It could have been those bikinis or something, but just wasn't paying attention there for a minute, you know. Had a little bit of a reversing issue.
What tips you got for me for the sand? What about tyre pressures? What did you find with this one?
Oh, okay. Well, the one thing that was really interesting, which, you know, I've noticed before, because I had a set of the Storms in Milo for a long time, and one of our Tassie trips, it was quite amazing. At one stage I was bogged, you know. The whole rear of the car was stuck in the sand. I was just on a slope, you know, but it was stuck front right, back left, and bang, well and truly in the sand. And I was running about, I don't know, 16 PSI, and I dialed it down to 12 and drove out.
Okay.
And that's not a lot. You know, that's only 4 PSI, but I suppose at that end of the spectrum, it's a quarter, it's 25%.
Yeah, it makes a difference, yeah.
But as I was doing it, I was saying to Watto, you know, look, mate, we could go to 6 on this, you know, no worries, or even
with
4
the
or 3 or 2.
Yeah.
But we'll just try, we'll just knock 4 off the top and see what happens.
Yeah.
Knock 4 off the top and drove out. Unbelievable.
Well, if this thing did it at 16 or 12, I reckon I'll be running about like 24 getting through there, no problem with this little rocket.
Rocket? Oh, boy. Oh, dear.
I'll
tell you what, mate, I'll tell you what. It hasn't visually improved one iota. It's still possibly the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
You hurt my feelings again, mate. I'm just going to have to... I'll do my talking on the track, I think.
Yeah, okay, good.
See you out there,
Let
mate.
the performance show. Good on you, mate.
Okay, they're off. This time tackling the opposite direction. Glen is starting his leg where the Jackeroo excels, on the bitumen. While Roothy, well, he looks like he's on a bit more of a mission this time. Maybe his laid-back approach to the first half of the race gave him nightmares last night, and he woke up more motivated than ever to win. Not wanting to make Roothy's job easier though, Glen quickly polishes off the bitumen and makes his way towards the sand, where he'll first need to stop off to do a few necessary preparations.
I'm just about to hit the soft sand of the beach, and because every second counts, I'm going to save time in two ways. First way is by using the Storm deflators. These are the quickest way to get the tyre pressures down to what I want. In this case, 18, because it's only a light little short wheelbase Jackeroo to float over the sand, and will save time by me not getting stuck.
The tyres are now down, and it's only 50 kilometres of sand separating him and the Jackeroo from the finish line. Roothy has also made excellent ground and is already at the big water crossing that saw half the Jackeroo disappear last time. With less concern about aesthetics and more about function, the race tape was left aside, and Roothy opts to use zip ties instead. Just like it was meant for the water though, the massive front bumper disperses most of the water, making the 55 look more and more like a barge. Back at the sand, Glen is discovering that the shock absorbers in the Jackeroo are shot. Coping just all right on the dirt, they're not proving to be that great on the sand. Glen, we hope you bought your seasickness pills. Surprisingly enough though, the light and nimble Jackeroo seems to be gliding over the sand easily and doesn't seem to be going any slower than it was on the dirt. Maybe Roothy's in for a rude shock. Or is he? Both cars are going great guns, and without anything in their way right now, it's a matter of first come, first served when it comes to hitting the finishing line. This is going to be a tight race.
Could grow tremendously.
Having a much shorter approach angle than the 55, the Jackeroo easily ploughs its way up the hill that stopped the Toyota. Yet with the higher tyre pressures, it seems to be doing more digging than driving. Making his way easily out of the soft spot, Glen is able to literally drive head first into the next part of the course.
Looks like I'm a bit behind now. Maybe I shouldn't have stopped to read the paper, eh? That's all right. If Glen doesn't break down, I'll still beat him. And that's a big dozen, isn't it? That's a baker's dozen, that one. Especially with the Jackeroo.
As Roothy powers his way up the big dirt hills, Glen reaches the turning point that saw Roothy's 55 disappear into a massive sea foam. Luckily though, being a new day, there's none there, and nothing to stop the Jackeroo from powering on through. The bouncy suspension isn't doing him any favours, yet having come from a rally background, he's dealt with his fair share of bumps before and isn't afraid of the odd bit of airtime. While Roothy makes mincemeat of the mud, Glen progresses on, yet is a little concerned that his Evel Knievel efforts may have done some damage underneath. Has he broken an axle? Or is it just another noise to add to the Jackeroo's already growing collection? With Roothy reaching the highest point in the off-road stage, Glen discovers that something isn't quite right. Yet some preventative maintenance will hopefully stop anything bad from happening later on in the race.
If you own an independent front suspension four-wheel drive and you use it a lot in the bush, then the chances are you're going to come across the same problem we have here with the Jackeroo. We've just noticed that it's torn a front CV boot, and that can happen very easily. A stick or any kind of sharp object can easily pierce the rubber and tear it open, exposing the inner joint to foreign material like sand and muck that you don't want in there. So, to get us back on the road quickly, I'm going to show you a quick fix. All you need to fix this temporarily is anything you got at hand. I've got a rubber inner tube which is nice and soft, I've got something to cut it with, and I've got some decent zip ties to tie it tightly around the boot. We don't want to put any more muck back into that joint than we have to, so we'll wipe the protective bit of rubber clean, get rid of the sand on it, which is hard, in the middle of the sand dunes. Then with the same rag, we'll just wipe out the joint to make sure we've got rid of all the sand that's sitting on it at the moment. Once you've cut your piece of rubber to the right size, make sure it fits tightly around the rip boot, so it seals it up properly, as best as you can, and then we'll zip tie it together. Keep putting zip ties around it until you're sure that it's going to stay there for any length of time that you want to be able to drive the vehicle for. And the trick now, once it's all secured, is to try and avoid driving through too much muck like deep water and things like that that are going to make it hard to keep out of it. Just trim those off because they'll get pretty noisy if the end of this zip is flapping around as this joint rotates. The main trick with these fasteners, these zippies, is to make sure you get one around the outermost edge of the CV bit, which is here, and one around the innermost edge, and then a few in the middle to seal it up as best you can. I'm not far from the end of this challenge, so that repair will get me out of trouble. But if you've got a lot further to travel and you've got some silicone or some kind of sealant with you, feel free to wipe it along the joint where the two bits of the rubber tube join each other, just to keep the water and muck out for a little bit longer. But otherwise, that's good enough for me. I'm back into it.
That's great work, Glen, but you better get that Jackeroo moving. Roothy's probably leading the race by now. And speaking of hold-ups, that fallen tree that Glen was more than happy to waste time dragging back on the road, well, let's just say it was around the perfect height for a game of tennis with a 55's big heavy front bumper. Roothy's making great time, and it's only seconds away from what could be the edge he really needs.
Bit of a shortcut here. We can take this, we can save a couple of hours. Looks like someone's been through. This could be a bit of a beast of a shortcut. Oh, look at all the broken timber. He's already cleared it for me. Holy cow. I wonder if he reversed out of here. You know, by the look of these tracks, Glen's done this. I think he would have stopped about here. Probably got winched back out or something. Red paint. Some little bits of jackeroo and some rust. That's him. Well, he got this far. He must have driven through. He got through this. This is going to be a bit of a tough call because, you know, Glen's got the short wheelbase truck. Through those rocks back there, it's got a much better chance than the long wheelbase. This shortcut's going to save maybe an hour and a half. But if I get it stuck here, I could be here for days. The four-wheel driver in me wants to come down and have a go. The competitor that says I just lost the first part says I'm probably going to be safer to take advantage of the big motor and just blast it down the track.
Not knowing whether Roothy took the shortcut or not, Glen is still powering on and knows that he's got a better than average chance of winning this leg of the race. Meanwhile, back in the dirt, Roothy has to make the call as to whether he'll tackle the creek bed. Having been fortunate enough to buy a truck already fitted with a winch, he's hit a snag because it doesn't seem to be working. With the assistance of our tech head cameraman, Watto, he'll be able to test everything, yet it doesn't look like it'll be of any use to him.
Push in and out. The lever's doing its job. It's moving the engagement rod the whole way. That winch is a boat anchor. Right. Yeah, see, I can turn it now. Take your foot off the clutch. So it's got the rod right the way out, and you can't physically push it anymore, so it must be something inside the joey box itself, a cog or...
Normally, if you've got a PTO winch, you're pretty right, aren't you, as long as you've got your engine running?
Yeah, if the engine's running, you're fine, you know. I mean, the PTO winch is just a third drive shaft, really. That's all it is, a third drive shaft to a big drum. Yeah. They don't have a lot of disadvantages. I mean, you've got no electrics to get wet, but the problem with most of them is they're very heavy and they've got that long drive shaft, you know. Yeah. And in this case, the drive shaft goes through 4 unis to get from there to there, which is fairly tortuous. And did you see the way they'd oxyed a hole in the chassis?
Yeah, that's new.
That's exciting, isn't it?
Yep.
I reckon he drank a bit of beer, the bloke who fitted this winch.
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, I think it's the case for a bit of modern technology, don't you reckon?
No, mate, no. It worked really well for 30 years. Yeah. I'd like to see the gadget mobile in 30 years.
Oh, yeah. So would I.
With Glen doing well, Roothy unfortunately did the smart thing and took the longer but easier way out. There still isn't much in it, but he'll have to get a move on in order to get through the freeway in time. They're really pushing it now and already tasting victory. Roothy's had the pedal to the metal for some time now, and with a leaky water pump, is starting to notice that the 55's temperature gauge is rising quite rapidly.
Oh, look at that. Oh, and look, wouldn't you know it, look, I haven't got very far at all to go now, and I'm pretty sure I'm in front. I don't know what's going on, but the water pump's leaking like crazy. This is the third time I've had to stop and fill her up. Look, there's not much of a time for any bush tips here, but there is one, and that is, if you've got time, let the whole thing cool down before you add water. We don't have any time. 2, always run a hot engine when you're putting cold water into it. Otherwise, the big influx of cold water just cracks everything. If the motor's running, it mixes up, stays warm. I'm in a hurry. Right, it's done. I'm in a hurry.
That ought to keep it going long enough. The race is certainly on now. Glen is pushing hard towards the exit to the beach, and Roothy is on the bitumen, making tracks towards where it all started. With the JACKEROO bouncing its way towards the finish, and the 55 actually making good time on the freeway, Roothy can only smile, knowing how good this old truck has been to him.
Unbelievable! Now the true power of the mighty 2F shines through. It's a lovely old thing. I know, you know, I love my new four-wheel drives as much as anyone, but when you're off the road, nothing beats having something like this. Mostly because you can beat it into the old tree and not worry too much about it. They don't make them quite as solid as they used to. You're really keen to see a 200 series Toyota in 30 years' time.
In the meantime, though, Glen's excessive bouncing has left the JACKEROO with a very noticeable misfire.
What is wrong with this? It's missing for some reason. I've got to find which cylinder it's missing on, so by pulling the plug leads off one by one, I've already found that it's number 4 that's missing because it's not running any worse. Okay, I found out what the problem is. It's a broken wire on number 4 injector, but rather than stuff around and fix that now, I'll be quicker to leave it as it is.
As Roothy makes his way down the final part of the freeway and into the roundabout, it looks like Glen has him beaten. Oh no, here comes the FJ55. There's nothing in it. Come on guys, you're almost there. Here they come. And it's the JACKEROO by the smallest of margins. Well done, guys.
Hey, go the JACKEROO! Hey, Rudy, that was close. That was close, mate.
Yeah, mate, yeah.
Very
you won.
good.
You won, only just.
That was a bit of fun, I reckon.
I am so impressed with the JACKEROO, mate, honestly.
It didn't do too badly, mate, did it?
Oh, I thought
For a little truck.
Independent front suspension, you know, all that electronic stuff. I mean, I know it's 10 years newer than mine, but by crikey, mate, you did really well. Good on you.
I was happy with it, mate.
Yeah,
I was happy with it, but I'll tell you what, along the way I learned a few things about it. You have to treat it fairly gently in some parts to make it, you know, to keep it going so nothing falls off it. But I'd hate to see this little IFS truck doing the same thing in another 12 years that the 55's just done. I don't think it's screwed together quite the same, you know.
Well,
they're tough old girls, those 55s.
I've got to tell you, I got the feeling that this 55 would probably do a Cape trip and a few more things.
I'd say so,
it
mate. This thing needs a bit of work to get it back to normal, I think, after this trip. It's copped a bit of abuse and it didn't like it.
But isn't it amazing, like, I mean, we've got two old dungers here that aren't worth much at all. Yeah. And all we've done to them is stick good rubber and those bead lockers on so
to get the right pressures.
So we could really play with the pressures. Yeah. And look at the places we've gone. I mean, I know where you've gone because I saw your track. That was insane. You got through that all right?
It wasn't too bad, but again, it was only because of the tyres and the bead lock. Without anything, without that, I'd still be stuck in that creek, I think, mate.
You just don't have to do much to these things, do you? And turn them into real weapons.
Pressures, the right tyres, you can go pretty much anywhere you want.
Anywhere you want, yeah.
And you don't have to spend a lot of money, that's the main thing.
Oh, well, we certainly didn't, did we? I mean, look at this. The whole lot's worth less than a couple of... it's unreal. It's
let's go have some fun, John. Yeah. Let's go have some fun.
Mate, can we swap?
Yeah, let's swap.
Yeah,
I want to drive the 55.
I've been hanging out to try this, I really have.
Go the 55! Go the Jackeroo!
Australia really is the greatest place on earth. And I reckon the Outback is the heart and soul of our country. There's nothing I love better than getting in Milo and driving off into the vast peace and quiet that you only get when you're right out in the bush. And the best thing is, it's just down the end of your street too. So come on, this is where you'll feel the true heartbeat of Australia. Come out here and have a look.